Well, good morning. Sorry for the rough introduction. Until I get a camera and a microphone, then I'll just have my smartphone to use, and I'm hindered by the technology and my ability to use said technology until I can do better. But anyway, I wanted to catch you up a little bit. This is the day, crossing my fingers, that we plant the tomato plants. Neighbor here in the neighborhood, he's had successful gardens in his backyard for years and years and years, and I've agreed to barter some of my labor for some of his knowledge. So he's going to come over and he's going to show me a few tricks, but I wanted to run through a few things about where we are. The tomato plants are starting to worry me. They're starting to get dry on the tips, and I need to get them in the ground, and I need to get them in the ground now. And I'd hate to have wasted that money on those seedlings and all that effort, and then have them die in their seedling cups. So come hell or high water, they're going in the ground today, and whatever happens, happens. I've already decided I'm going to order some more of those seedlings, and if these live and they thrive, then that's all well and good, and then I'll have enough for a second crop somewhere midway through the season, which I predict will be June-ish, the middle of June sometime. And then I'll have to worry about getting them up and keeping the sun from beating them to death. But I was pretty good at that last year with some tomatoes, so let's see how it goes. So anyway, catch you up. I'm gonna have to flip the phone because I don't know how to do it and stop the video. So I'm gonna flip the phone just to let you see that I've re-tilled the soil this morning. And you know, I had already tilled it up, but you saw when the boys were playing it in the rake, it had gotten dry and it looked like nasty dirt, and I understand that it's going to get that way again, but I wanted to put those tomato seedlings in some freshly tilled dirt, some moist dirt. Now this morning, before I was tilled, I threw some vegetable food in there and I tilled it into the dirt, and that should help. So I'm excited about getting them into the ground. I'm anxious about getting them into the ground, in all honesty. And I'm ready to start worrying about them being outside. Just a few things over here. The blackberries are just starting to come through. We had one Saturday. We had one about that big Saturday, and Joshua saw it, and he asked me if those were good, and I said, yeah, they're very good. So he picked it and he popped it in his mouth, and we couldn't find one for Connor, so that particular blackberry has Connor's name on it. So he's going to come by today after school, and we're going to let him pick it if I can keep the birds away from it. God, please don't let the birds get it between now and then. So anyway, we've got that. Over here, if you remember, the boys planted some squash on this side of the bricks and some bell peppers over here. Nothing's come up yet, but it's only been a week and a half, so I'll give it another week. And in reality, if something doesn't start growing, I'll replant, and the boys will never know that I replanted. And when they come up, they'll think those plants are the ones they planted. Now, here's something interesting. I read online that when you buy celery, that when you get done, you can plant the stalk in the ground and it'll grow its own celery. So we'll see how that goes. That's an experiment. How cool would it be to have maybe a dozen celery plants growing all the time, so when you need it to cook with, then you can just come out with your paring knife and you can get whatever you want. Now, a couple of things have changed over here as per Farmer Bud. If you remember, all along this first row, Josh and I planted some spinach. And I don't know if it's coming up or not. We'll just have to wait and see. But if you notice, I've tilled the back side of that up. And what I've done is I transplanted the back sides of these rows of corn over here. Farmer Bud said that corn needs at least 4 rows to germinate properly, because there's no guarantee that they'll just germinate this way, if that makes sense. So he says if you have a square, then no matter which way the wind blows, then it's going to blow pollen onto the other corn stalk, and that made sense. The timing was just right, because it was just about the time that you were supposed to, originally you're supposed to plant these seeds real close together and then go back and dig every one of them up and then replant them. You know, I didn't do that last year and I got corn, so I didn't do it this year. And, you know, I just did the whole row. But the timing was right, because this was just exactly the time that you were supposed to transplant the seeds anyway. So it all worked out. So now we've got 4 stubby rows of corn. We've got 1 row of spinach. And back here, I've re-tilled this up, because Bud wants to go this way. And he's the guy with the successful garden. And he said we're going to plant bush beans. Now, I have no idea what a bush bean is, but he wants to plant them back here, and I'm game, because he said he would leave me room to plant some onions and some cucumbers. So we'll see what happens. Now, if you'll notice over here, it's pretty early in the morning and the sun's just coming over the house. Over here underneath this tree, it gets pretty shady in the afternoon. But I was reading online, and I confirmed it with Bud, just about any kind of a leaf plant that you want to grow, you can grow, as long as it gets good sun in the morning. If it doesn't get the afternoon sun, then that's okay, because that morning sun is good enough. And I was thinking that I would plant some iceberg lettuce and maybe some kale and maybe some microgreens or something over there. And, you know, eventually the goal is to have enough food in the freezer where when we go to the store, we just have to buy meat and flour and sugar and that kind of stuff. If I can get there, then I'll be really happy, and we'll just see what happens. Now, guys, Mary told me no more film in the backyard until I got it cleaned up. So if you know her and she asks you about this video, you tell her for me, please, that the backyard looks fine. I picked up the junk, I mowed it, I edged it, and all of that, so help me stay out of trouble. And here's my favorite spot on the back porch, Grandma and Grandpa's house. That's really what this is all about. Do me a favor, if you would, if you find any of this even remotely interesting, look down there and hit the bell and hit the like and hit subscribe and follow what we do this summer. I guarantee you it's going to get interesting.